Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fan Behavior. Today, I am unfortunately not joined by my Hannah, because she is on a work trip actually in Las Vegas right now. But I am joined by another Hannah and an Emma from Track Talk. Thank you so much for being here, you guys.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited. Like we would never turn down an opportunity to come on Fan Behavior. We love you guys.
Oh, you're the best.
Except we did go back to just one
I
Hannah.
know, I
Yeah, one
know,
episode.
I know, I know. That was on your guys' podcast, but we've never
Yeah.
had all four of us on our podcast. Maybe in the
Yes.
off season, we can do some sort of fun episode and it can be all four of us together.
Mhm.
I was telling
Yeah.
Emma before we started to record that, so Hannah's obviously gone this weekend. I'm gone next weekend. And so we're trying to figure out people to fill in and guess. And I was like, I'm obviously just going to reach out to Track Talk because they are just reliable. They're not afraid to share their opinions. They're just fun girls. So you guys are the best.
I
I
feel
don't,
like we'll have a lot of the same opinions this episode. Like
but you know what?
nothing.
It's so funny to me. I think I felt this when we were on your podcast last, is like, especially you, Emma, because of your Lance affiliation.
Oh, I have
Um,
something to say about
right,
Lance, but I can
right,
wait.
right. So that's the thing. Because like when Hannah and I record, I actually think we said it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. We were just like, we forget about Lance. We don't like, we very rarely talk. It's not even that we don't, there's just nothing to say really, like from our perspective. But it's because, we don't have the diehard fan. And so it's good to have you because you offer this new perspective.
Can I
Emma,
share
why
my
don't you
news?
break your news?
Please, please share it, share it.
Okay, the news. Um, I sh I found out today Lance is single.
Okay, but is it confirmed?
I don't know. In my head it is.
Okay, it's not confirmed.
Okay, but the thing is, his girlfriend or ex presumably, is that the right word? I don't know. Deleted all the pics of them on Instagram, which is technically that's like in my mind, that's confirming it. Okay. Like that's the first thing I did when I broke up with my ex. I deleted every single photo. Do you know what I mean? So her not having any trace of him on her social media anymore. And I haven't seen them together in a while. So
Breaking
I'm
news
gonna go
here
ahead and
from
say I'm
Emma.
gonna go ahead and say it's confirmed. And that is an early birthday gift to me and him because now he's in his single era. Hopefully that's good for him because his birthday's in like 2 days.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we
See,
love that for
wouldn't have
him.
known that. Wouldn't have
Happy
known
birthday.
that. Um, well, thank you for that piece of information, Emma. That's really vital. And I wouldn't have thought of that, honestly, for this episode. So thank you. Um,
And he finished 11th if you guys care.
he
Okay.
did, he
He was
did, he
really close to
did,
the points.
he did. Yeah, we can get to that actually. We can get to that. Um, okay, before like the race stuff this week, there's just a couple things I wanted to touch on just to get your opinion on. So there were well, Helmut Marko came out, as he always does. This is,
Always.
routine,
Mhm.
saying that he's been getting some calls or interest for Oscar Piastri for the Red Bull seat, that Mark Webber has been trying to contact him or whatever. There's conversations going on. Now, obviously, this is a smart move. If you're Red Bull, you're like, yeah, I'd love to get Oscar. But if you're Oscar, unless you feel like Max Verstappen's leaving Red Bull, why would you ever go to Red Bull? Your thoughts?
Hannah, you want to go first?
My one thing that I'll say, because I still am confused about all this, because on one hand, yes, it is a smart move, but then yes, you're right. Like Red Bull is declining in performance. But this exact same strategy was done by the Lando Norris camp last off season. So that's where I'm kind of confused because it didn't really work then, but I feel like it's just a strategic move right now where there's this conversation about Oscar being the second driver and
Right.
that not being like something that he and Mark are interested in and the whole contract thing. But Lando did this same thing happen. It was like, oh, Lando's going to go to Red Bull. I don't know what they're trying to do with this because other than try to give Oscar some leverage, but he's not up for a contract. So I don't know.
Emma?
I feel like it doesn't mean anything. Like
I
it's
agree.
just it's just like no offense, but just like a business move. Like Oscar and his team are obviously going to be just like shopping around, like just in case,
Yes.
he doesn't have a lifelong contract with McLaren. Like I know Lando pretty much does, but Oscar doesn't, you know what I mean? So it's like, why not just ask around? And I just feel like Helmut Marko's type of person to be like, do you want to know who I was talking to? You'll never guess. Like he just loves to like,
Run his
he
mouth.
just loves to be in the papers. Like he loves when people are talking about him. And now it's just like, okay, well, who is he talking to now? So
Well,
like, I don't think it's anything. And I think it's just literally business.
that's what Oscar said too. And he was asked about it. He was like, well, it's Helmut Marko. He loves to talk. He loves to start things like,
Yeah.
which again is like, of course, Oscar's not going to be like, yeah, I have been talking to Red Bull and I would like to, of course he's not going to reveal that, but he's right. Helmut Marko does run his mouth. So
Mhm.
anyway, something interesting to look at in the probably like 2025 as we get further down the road and maybe Max is looking elsewhere or just decides he wants to retire all of a sudden or something. The other piece of Red Bull news was that we now know that Yuki is officially getting a Red Bull test in Abu Dhabi. At the end of the season, he will be getting a test in the RB20. Now, will Red Bull have made their decision about what's going to happen with their driver lineup before Abu Dhabi? I would actually venture, I don't think so. Or they won't announce anything until after Abu Dhabi. But, he didn't really do himself very many favors this weekend, Yuki,
Neither did
with
Checo, though.
I know. And honestly, neither did Liam really either. But it was sort of a wash all. I mean, we'll get to all of that. But I'm happy he's at least getting a chance to be in the Red Bull because oh my God, it's been years of him like
Mhm.
I feel like deserving at least an opportunity. And it's like, what more does he have to do? So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
happy about it.
Mhm.
I hope it's not a performative thing from Red Bull because
Right.
there has been so much conversation, so much push to get Yuki in this seat. And for some reason, they've been holding back, holding back, holding back. So for now, I'm just kind of, if I'm Yuki, I'm not putting too much of my hopes into this because I'm worried that it's just a performative thing at this point. And
Mhm.
that's not what I want. I want Yuki to have a fair shot, but.
It definitely could be because Honda was the one to like push it.
Right, right.
Yeah. I don't think this is Red Bull's doing. I think this is Yuki's team and this is Honda. Like, this isn't, I'm not getting my hopes up of seeing Yuki in a Red Bull after this. I think it is just for show and to be like, okay, we probably should put him in there at some point before he leaves. Like, which is so unfortunate for Yuki. Like, but I don't think the Red Bull seat is his at
I
all.
know. Red Bull is in they are in a big dilemma, which we can get to that later. Um, just a couple things I wanted to touch on from practice. We had two big crashes. Alex, in FP1. Alex has had, and maybe we can
Tough
get to
weekend.
this later, tough weekend, but like tough
Mhm.
couple of weekends. He has really been, it's the narrative has changed on Alex. Let's just
I
say
know.
that. And I feel like, I said this not to be like, I'm a genius and I predict everything. I wasn't, I didn't think that, but I did say a couple of months ago when Logan was still around, like, I think Alex is a good driver, but I do feel like he has benefited from having two not so great teammates, Latifi and Logan Sargent. And now that he has Franco as his teammate, he's kind of being pushed and a little bit, I don't know. Franco has been performing better, in my opinion, in comprehensively over their time as teammates together. And I just worry what this is going to do for Alex's future. Not just the crash in practice, the crash today, like just hasn't been good.
Mhm. I think that because we're like getting so close to the end of the season, all these drivers are kind of in their head and like they're trying to prove themselves. And it does not help that Franco has come in and like proven himself in the last few races that like more than Logan ever did in his career. And so Alex is probably just like, shit, like I actually have a little bit of competition now, whereas before I didn't. And so Alex doesn't know what to do with that. It's like okay, I almost feel like Alex expected it to be like mentor mentee,
Of
and
course.
it's not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think that for the first time in a long time, Alex he's uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and
Right. Yes.
he's proving right now that maybe his mental strength is not where we all thought it was. He's just uncomfortable. He hasn't had to be rivaled or pushed for a long time. Like you said, going back to Nick Latifi being his teammate. But also don't forget that Alex performed very, very well alongside Max in the Red Bull, I believe. I mean, I know that he got sacked from the team, but I think he should have had a longer stint. Anyways, so I think that with some off-season work, he might be able to come back. For him, I'm like, this season's a wash at this point, but I'm thinking for next season, because being having Carlos Sainz as his teammate, he's going to be uncomfortable as well. So I think that he's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to do some mental training in the off season and come back, and we'll see maybe a different Alex next season.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think there's any chance that Alex could lose his seat this year?
Emma was thinking that
Mm.
last week. I thought you said maybe something about.
Well, because honestly, God, just forgot about Alex. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
like in my mind, I was like, Franco's driving Williams next year. Like I don't know why I thought it was Franco Carlos lineup. I don't know where that thought came from. And so I don't see. I think after Williams sacking Logan, I think that if they sack Albon, like they'll people will hate them. Well, they'll be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" So I don't know. I don't. I think his seat is safe, but I think he's got a lot of work to do over the break, and I don't know what to expect next year because I doubt Alex is going to be their number one driver.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's going to be a tough one. Okay, should we get to quali and what
Mhm.
happened? Okay. So obviously the big news. Well, okay, should we start with Oscar or should we start with Checo?
Let's
Okay,
go
let's
with.
start with Checo.
Checo. Okay. So obviously going into this weekend, I mean, I feel like for months, I don't feel like we've even like really talked about the Checo of it all this whole season, but I feel like there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about his seat. Should he be there? Then Daniel gets removed basically because they're trying to figure out if they want to put Liam into the Red Bull. Like so everything is just revolving and the talk has always been about Mexico, like Checo and the Mexico GP and in front of his home fans. Will this be his last race? The retirement rumors that went around. I feel like all of it was just mounting to like this he needs to perform well at his home race. And then to get out in Q1 was
Mhm.
just so bad.
It's like it's heartbreaking, and I've said this so many times, but I am always rooting for a driver to do well at their home race, even if I
Yes.
don't like that driver. And so to see Checo get out Q1, I'm just like, oh my God, my guy, you had one job, like one job. And like I just like it's just so it sucks for him. It sucks for his fans. Like it just like it doesn't look good on him. Like it just there's just an even bigger question mark now than there was before. Like after every single race where Checo performs bad, it's just like, okay, there's no way they're keeping him. And then they continue to keep him. And then there's no it's not justifiable. Like I don't understand.
Yes.
Well, we were hearing for the longest time that Red Bull was keeping him. Liberty Mutual, no, that's an insurance company. Liberty Media was keeping him in the seat because Mexican GP promotion, the
That
whole
was
thing.
the rumor the whole time.
That was
Yeah.
rumor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like
That happened. So
now
now
what?
this is interesting. Now we'll see kind of where this goes. I don't want to see him lose his seat, but I don't
This
like
season. Or do you
this
want
season,
to? Okay.
this
Yeah.
season. But it is, I mean, it's kind of unjustifiable, like Emma said. And it would be different if he historically performed well, but last year he retired on lap one. So I don't like
Mhm.
it's been an unfortunate series of events for his fans at his home race years in a row now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say that if like I almost said Liberty Mutual. We're thinking of IndyCar.
You know,
It's like their main sponsor. If Liberty Media is like so worried about getting like not getting enough fans or like keeping Mexican fans happy, like Pato Award brought in enough people himself just by showing up,
Right. By
like
driving FP1 session.
driving FP1. Like that's it. So
Right. I
there's
don't I don't actually think that that was really real. Like the tickets were already sold, you know. I think
Mhm.
I mean we'll never really know unless someone writes a book and reveals all the secrets, but we'll get back to Red Bull because I have more things. Obviously, we have more things to say about the race and kind of like how their decisions have affected their well, everything for them. They're kind of like it's sort of well, what's the saying like you gotta I can't think of the saying, but like you gotta lie in the bed you've made or something like that.
You've made your bed, now
you
lie in it.
bed now sleep in it or
You've
whatever.
got to
There we
lie
go.
in the bed that you've made.
That's going to be the title of the episode.
Red Bull lying in their bed.
Um, but okay, let's get to Oscar.
Oh my God.
Because that was honestly, I mean, obviously way more surprising just because Oscar's made Q3 every single race this season. But God, like the track limits and then just like the Red Bull or the McLaren constructors fight, I feel like that was the worst part of it.
Yeah, it's not expected. Like the second that it was like shown that Oscar and Checo were both out, I was just like, no, like that's not right. Like it just doesn't. I'm just so used to seeing Piastri like in the top 10 somewhere, and then I don't know, he wasn't there.
Well, and last week Emma fought me because she didn't watch sprint qualifying where Oscar went out in Q1. So when I said that I thought that there was like a little bit of a decline in McLaren performance, that's what I was speaking to last week.
Hmm.
And that's why I maybe wasn't as surprised this week.
Mhm.
So I don't know what's going on though. Like, is it an upgrade package that Lando's car has that his doesn't? Like, what is going on?
Okay, well, I know I actually read somewhere that I think it might be Red Bull that Checo doesn't have a floor that Max has, and someone else there's like a difference in
I
parts. I
think
don't.
George and Lewis have a
Oh
different
yeah,
aero.
George and Lewis.
Yeah.
Yep. But I don't know that McLaren. I don't know that they're different. So I don't know. Maybe it's also we always forget Oscar. Is this his second season in
Mhm.
Formula One? Like he's still so new and young, and like he's gonna have some mistakes or some things that go wrong. Like they all do. But I feel like he's so mature. He's so like he just carries
Mhm.
himself so well that we forget that he's not like a 6 or 7 year veteran in Formula One, or at least
I
I
think
do.
yeah, it's also like he is very consistent, just
Yes.
not just in quality but on the track as well, so that when there is a mistake like this, it's almost bigger because we're just like,
Yes.
whoa, like it's shocking.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then in Q2, we have Yuki's crash, which was
Yeah.
just Yuki was having a great weekend. Like all FP, well, FP1, FP2, he was in the top three. Like he looked like he was going to be fast. The V Carb, Alpha Tauri, whatever you want to call them, was really fast here last year because Daniel got in the top four. So like I was like, Yuki could qualify in the top five here. Like he could. And then he crashed, and it's kind of like the downfall of I don't know. I feel like he has like so much to prove right now with Liam, and it's sort of like, oh my gosh, this is kind of my chance to maybe get in that Red Bull again. Is it ever going to really happen? But I do feel like he's I don't know. I don't think it's all his fault. I just he needed to have a really strong performance, I felt.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think he's in an uncomfortable position. And he wasn't in that position when Danny was his teammate. And now it's everything at once. It's Liam coming in, it's the conversation around that Red Bull seat. And now you have this terrible weekend when all this
Mhm.
conversation is happening. So it's not great.
No.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Anything from you, Emma?
No, Hannah like kind of gets it. Like just Yuki.
Are you guys fans of Yuki? I don't know if I know that about you.
I mean, we're always rooting for a yoint. Like we're never. I'm always happy to see Yuki do well, but it's not like I
He's
have a
not one of your
poster of him
top
on my
top
wall.
Charles?
Yeah,
Hannah?
so yeah.
Okay.
Charles, Carlos, Max. That's my top three.
Okay. Emma?
Oscar's
La-
an honorable mention fourth. I like
Okay.
Oscar.
Lance, Lando, Charles, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, and then obviously Q3, Carlos gets pole. I felt like it was a pretty standard Q3 session.
Mhm.
Like Carlos did great. Max gets a great lap, even though he probably shouldn't have gotten a great lap. The the Mercs are kind of just like nowhere. Also Haas too. Like I feel like we Haas has
Okay. Haas
turned
this
a
weekend?
corner. Yeah.
So
Incredible.
good.
Yeah.
I
I
was rooting
mean,
for them.
last weekend in Austin, they did very well. This weekend, I mean, they're just sailing through. Like
Mhm.
I think they are very clearly the fifth fastest team right now. Not even a question. Because
Mhm.
Aston
Are
Martin has
they?
gone down. They're like
Yes.
they just passed V Carb. They're in sixth right now, in the
Oh
standings.
yeah, you're right. But they're 40 points behind Aston
But
Martin.
I'm saying they're faster than Aston Martin at this point.
At this
Well,
point, yeah.
uh no. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, but
Where did Lance finish and where did the Haas's finish? Emma, come on.
So it's Lance's birthday in a few days, and I can't say anything bad about him.
Oh,
Let's
this
just say
isn't
that.
bad.
Saying anything
I'm
bad
not
about him.
blaming
Where did he
Lance.
finish?
I'm saying
I
Aston
get it.
Martin.
Yes,
Aston
okay.
Martin.
Aston Martin, they're not it this season.
They were doing well and then they just fallen off. It's
This
not
Yeah,
happens
a Lance.
every season with
I
Aston
agree.
I
Martin.
know.
I agree.
Every season they start off so hot, and then it's just, I don't
What the
know.
hell?
Downward.
Maybe
Yeah.
that'll change next year though. Who are they bringing on?
Well, not he's not coming on next season. Adrian Newey.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it was. It's
I think not.
2026.
Yeah, I think 26. But still, I mean, that'll be big for them. Um,
I
you
yeah.
love
I
Lance.
love Aston Martin. I like Aston Martin. And so I was so broken to see Fernando retire too.
I know.
Like
On his
I am
400th race.
like that's
Yeah.
400th.
so sad. And he had a
I
nice
know.
golden helmet and I'm like, oh, can't even wear it for the whole race. It was sad.
Do you guys have anything else from qualifying or do we want to move to the race?
I don't think I have any more notes from quali. I just had like what did I
But it was unfortunate, obviously. Yuki's Q2 exit stopped the himself. He stopped Liam, I
Yeah.
think, from getting into
Yeah.
to Q1. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Tough.
Maybe that was on purpose. Not gonna start a rumor, but
Yeah. Well,
okay,
and
but
also
do you ever
go
think
ahead.
about that though? Like Carlos had pole position. He had it for on like it was Q3, his first run,
Yeah. He's had it
having go one,
both laps. Yeah.
both laps. But like what if like Charles like took one for the team and like crashed out respectfully so Carlos would keep pole position. Do you
But
know what
it's
I
so,
mean?
yes, but it's so risky because
You know.
then they could ruin their car, might have to go, start from the pit lane. Like, it's
I
not really
always think
worth
about
it.
that though, because at that point, Max's time had been deleted. So he was like 10th. He had no track time.
Yeah.
And so he had just had like the one and done and got and like had to go. So
Yeah.
it's just like, I know that's like totally illegal and you can't just like crash on purpose so your teammate gets pole. But like, what if?
I don't know if it's ever done on purpose, but I think about Checo crashing in Monaco last
Yeah.
Monaco.
year,
Yep.
Q3, and it
Yep.
gave back pole position. That's like the one thing that comes to
No, I
my mind.
gave Checo pole
Checo
position.
pole position. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Max was pissed about that,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, okay, let's
Anyway,
get to the race. Lap one, Yuki and Alex. I literally wanted to just crawl into a hole and bury myself. I just,
yeah, those are your guys.
those are well, Yuki especially. I just like, come on. Like, I don't know. I feel like whatever bad luck, I just feel like Yuki's had some tough luck. And that really wasn't his fault. I feel like it was a classic lap one just
Mhm.
incident. But it made me so sad for both Yuki and Alex, who again are two guys who just like when it rains, it freaking pours, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any
They
thoughts from
Two
that
guys,
moment?
same two guys from practice.
Yeah.
It's and
like
qualifying. It's just
the
yeah.
last thing they needed was to crash out on lap one, and I was like, fuck. And so I recorded my reaction because I just wanted to see like who got ahead on turn one,
Uh-huh.
and then like all of a sudden they crashed. I was like, oh. I was
Yeah.
like not
And I
expecting
think
that at all.
Pierre had a hand in that as well because and it wasn't even his fault, it's just a racing thing. But like I think he had taken the space away. So
They all
there
got
was no,
squeezed.
yeah, there was really just nowhere to go at that
Nowhere to
point.
go. Yeah, bummer. Then we get the Checo penalty for the false start. I guess he was like, I didn't see it, but he apparently was way ahead in his grid box, which again was
His
terrible because he
His
had a
radio
great
message.
start. He was in
Yeah.
13th from whatever he was. What was his
his
radio?
radio message, it made me laugh. They were like, it says false start on the race control messages, and Checo's like, nope, it was a great start. I actually was like
I mean, it
dying
was a
laughing.
good start. He made up a lot of spots, but
It just also wasn't legal,
it wasn't
but
good. Yeah.
it
Which
was a
was
great start.
and apparently I also saw somewhere or I read somewhere that Red Bull's like message to Checo before the race was to beat Oscar. Like that was kind of his like I don't know if it was an
Okay.
ultimatum necessarily, but sort of like, well, because you both are back here, like now you at least just have to beat Oscar. And so he had gained all those positions. Oscar was still like in 16th or 17th or something. And then to have the penalty, then to have the little moment with Liam.
And
What
then
were
did you see Liam flip
The
him
finger?
off?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that's that we got a lot of questions about that from people. So I don't know if we should save that for now or later. Um
Oh, I want to talk about it now.
okay,
Holy Liam,
but
first of all, who do you think you
well,
are?
I was gonna
Like,
say Checo or so they have their little incident. Checo's pissed, Liam's pissed. Then later in the race, when there's the debris on the track from Liam and Franco's little battle, Checo was like,
yeah, I'm watching it
whatever
right
he
now.
said, he's like, oh, is it the same guy who I can't remember what he
The
exactly
same
said.
idiot. Like, I'm
Yeah, he called
watching
him
it
an idiot.
again. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God. Okay, first of all, Liam has made enemies of Fernando Alonso and not and I say enemies in quotations.
Loosely.
Like it's
Yeah.
not I obviously know that it's just a part of the sport, but he didn't make Fernando super happy and he didn't make Checo very happy. And it's just, he is an aggressive driver, Liam. Like he goes for it, And I admire that to some degree, but it seems like a lot of drivers are like, hey, buddy, this is maybe how you would have raced back in like F2, but this isn't really how you race in Formula One. That was my like read on the situation.
Okay, so I think it was last race they were talking about it. I think, unless it was this race, and I don't know. But the commentators had talked about how these new guys are coming in and they're racing in ways that
Yep. Yes.
the other, like the vets on the grid, they're not used to. And they're just like, technically this is legal, but also what are you doing? And it's I like at some point I'm just like you gotta respect the younger drivers for like going for it and like
Yes.
putting themselves out there and making moves and not just laying low, just being like, well, he's Lewis Hamilton, I'm not gonna fight him. Like,
Yes.
or he's Max Verstappen, I'm just gonna let him go. Like I respect them going for it. But at the same time, I'm like, buddy, like I just feel like there's also a line
There is a
that
line.
the
There's a
rookies
line.
shouldn't cross. And like I loved last week seeing like Liam pass or like finish ahead of Fernando. Like it was kind of like a little bit of a fuck you because like Fernando was just like annoyed, right? And was like, who does this kid think he is? Like he's putting like it's his career on the line, not mine. And so for Liam to finish ahead of him, it was like, okay, like he's showing him that he can race. He does have like he should have a spot on the grid. But
Right.
then to see it again the second like week in a row, it's just like
There's a
you
pattern,
yeah,
perhaps.
there's a pattern in that. Like, and so I'm just like, okay, what's next? Like, I don't know. Yeah, the term enemies can be used loosely here, but like he's not making any
He's not
friends.
making any friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hannah, do you have any thoughts?
Well, like Emma said, we talked about this on our show last week. Haley actually brought it up and she was like, I love this energy from the new drivers. And I agreed with her. And I agreed with her again with the Fernando thing. I think this is different. And I think this is different because of the Red Bull family.
Mhm.
And that is my only qualm with this is that I just wouldn't have gone after another Red Bull family driver. Not gone after per se, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't had that energy.
I was going to ask about that because I did think because of course I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, that was a penalty, that wasn't a penalty. I'm not going to be a steward here. Like I don't know enough about the like rules and regulations to deem something a penalty or not a penalty. But what I feel like they said on the broadcast was that they felt like Liam and Checo both probably should have gotten penalties from that incident.
Well, I think
Um,
at that point it's a racing incident.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I guess what their point was that they both should have been punished for
Yeah.
it. But I was thinking like was that a good idea by Liam or not? Because on one hand, he is in some ways he is fighting for that seat. So like you want to show that you're willing to fight, but at the same time, because of that incident, he damaged Checo's car,
Mhm.
and Checo was like in the points, probably going to score good points, which would have helped Red Bull and their constructors battle and all that stuff. And then now all of a sudden, Checo's way in the back, not scoring any points. So, like, I don't know if Liam did himself any favors by that or if it was a good idea for him. I don't know. I feel
I,
like you could like swing it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and after Max's 20-second penalty, when he was climbing back up, I'll get to that, I'm sure. When he was climbing back up the order, he overtook Liam easily. Liam didn't give him a fight. And I
Mhm.
think that was like I have to let Max through. Max is in a title fight right now. But that same energy should have been held for Max's teammate, I think.
It's like
Yeah.
they're so different. They're like in such different playing fields in a sense
Yeah.
that and then so as you brought up, then there was that video of Liam apparently flipping Checo off, which,
Oh, it's not apparently. It was
well,
very.
okay, I couldn't tell. Part of me felt like it was his pointer finger. Like I couldn't actually tell that it was his middle finger. I think it probably was, but whatever. But I am like, part of me is kind of like, haha, that's funny. Also, I'm kind of like, dude, you're like essentially a rookie on the
Mhm.
grid. What are you doing? I don't think anyone should be flipping off anybody in Formula One. Like, I think it's, you can do funny things like a finger wag or whatever. But to me, it's a little like, okay, come on. I don't know. What do you guys
See,
think?
well, we also see this a lot in like IndyCar, where
Yeah.
like drivers
Yeah.
will just like flip people off left, right, and center. And so, like, again, sometimes it's just like really unwarranted. And it's like, okay, like take a step back. But
Right.
I like, so I guess, yeah, in Formula One, it's more just like, whoa, this is so unsportsmanlike. What are you doing? Whereas, like, me and Hannah are just so used to IndyCar too. It's just like, yeah, we saw that coming, but like it shouldn't have happened still. But I don't know. I think it's like I feel like Liam feels like he needs to prove himself to be better than Checo. And so
Yeah,
like
and that's not the way to do it though.
That's
no,
that's the
Yeah.
thing.
that's
Right.
just childish. Like that's just it's
It's also
childish.
there's like a difference between I'm trying to think like if Lewis or if Fernando flipped off Lewis, we'd be like, ha ha ha, that's funny. These two veterans who like are
They
on
have that
par.
respect.
They yeah, like yeah. Whereas again, Checo being in the sport for however long he's been in the sport, 14 seasons, and then you have this young rookie guy. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit like, really?
Yeah.
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 Especially like also in Mexico at the Mexican GP, you're gonna
Yeah,
flip
like
Checo off. Like, really?
that's the race you're gonna choose. Okay,
I don't
okay.
know. I didn't. It makes for it's entertaining. It's a good
Mhm.
storyline. Like now I'm gonna be excited to. I mean, I already was, but this whole like Checo Liam rivalry, I'm gonna be locked in. But I'll be interested to see if they talk about it after the race. Like I'll be curious to see if they're asked about it in any of
Mhm.
the interviews and stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, let's get to the max penalties. So two penalties, 20 seconds. He didn't get penalties last weekend, the Lando Max battle in Austin. Now the stewards are like, okay, we're really coming down hard on you, Max. What were your thoughts on the penalties?
I'm gonna start this one off, Em, if that's okay. But my thoughts on the matter are that Max did it because nothing happened to him last week. And that's where we get this conversation about inconsistencies with the stewards. And Max is one of the smartest, if not the smartest driver on the grid because he knows based on past history and based on himself and watching years of the sport what he can and cannot get away with. And he knew he could get away with it last week and he did.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's no discipline handed out to him, why would you not do it again? And that's exactly what happened this week. And of course, we get 20 seconds worth of penalties because of it.
Mhm. I think that the stewards felt like they were probably a little bit under fire last week
Yeah.
because it wasn't just McLaren that was like Max should have gotten a penalty. It was multiple teams that were like, this is unfair. It shouldn't like it shouldn't have just been like, or it shouldn't have been Lando penalized for this. And so knowing that, I think the stewards were trying to save themselves a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
so I think that 5 seconds and 5 seconds could have been fine. And so
It
I
was
think 10
harsh.
seconds and 10 seconds was harsh. And so when they first announced the 10 seconds, I was like, oh, it's 5 seconds and 5 seconds. They're just combining it. And then like a few laps later, they announced second penalty for overtaking off the lap or overtaking off the track. I was like, whoa, I thought we just did that. Like I did feel like it was a little harsh, but I also feel like they felt a need to like the stewards felt the need to like put their foot down because otherwise they would have been like attacked again.
Yeah. And I also felt like there were other moments, like we mentioned, the Checo Liam situation, the Checo Lance battle, like that. I felt like Checo should have also got a penalty for
Mm-hmm.
forcing Lance off the
Lance off the
track.
track.
There was a lot of like, there's just been a lot of inconsistency, and they are kind of picking and choosing the drivers to penalize. And we've said this 1,000 times, like there's not ever consistent stewards. There needs to be consistent stewards throughout an entire Formula One season I know it's like not everything is going to happen the same way. So there's going to be some error that happens, but there needs to be better consistency with what they call a penalty or not, because
Mm-hmm.
it feels like right now they're just kind of like making it up as they go along,
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
Max
which
didn't even seem like he didn't even put up an argument when the
I,
penalties were told to him. Like he was just like, okay,
I
like
think he was just like, like so over it,
Like
Yeah.
basically.
whatever.
That was the
And
vibe I got.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, but yeah,
tough.
honey, make a good point about him being like, well, I did it last
Yeah,
week, I can do it again. Because
yeah,
yeah,
Why
it
would you
was the
not?
exact same thing that
of
happened
course.
last week.
Yep, yep.
Why
And
would you not?
you're right. And I also think people have said too, Max hasn't had to, for a couple seasons, he really hasn't had to like race people. And he's a great racing driver, a great defender, a great attacker. He's great at it, but he's also aggressive. That's like his tactic. That's what he is known for. And so,
But then he gets offended when other people are aggressive.
but that's how they all are though.
I know,
Yeah.
that's fair.
They all complain when people try to race
Oh,
them,
you
and then they're
guys.
like, whatever. And that's why I always have to laugh whenever I'm like, you did the same thing 2 seconds ago. Like now you're mad at
Hmm.
this person.
Hmm.
Fernando, obviously we mentioned, sadly had to retire, which was a bummer for him. Did we find out what the problem was?
Yeah, it was a braking issue. And
Oh,
I think
okay.
he was overheating because of it.
Got it, got it, got it.
Aw.
Bummer for him. But you know what? He's gonna have like 50 more races in his career at the very least. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
he's totally fine. The Lando Charles battle with Charles Leclerc almost going off of like
I can't believe
I like jumped. I was like, oh my God, that was so scary.
I didn't. The thing is, I would have assumed Lando would have just overtaken naturally anyway because he was gaining on Charles
He
like lap
was.
after lap after lap. But then for Charles to have a slip up like that and not put it in the wall, I was just like, I don't know what's going. I was panicking. Like it was like it was so sad because but I don't think Charles would have kept second place for that much longer anyway.
Yeah. Hannah,
I think
thoughts?
so either. He wouldn't have kept Lando had the pace.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that it was inevitable, but that's obviously not the way that you want to see someone give up their
Mhm.
spot. Like you'd rather see a brilliant overtake or something like that. So I'm
Yeah.
happy he kept it out of the wall, obviously.
Yeah,
P3 is
same.
P3 is just extra at this point for him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um,
And him and like with him finishing third and Carlos first, like they are now ahead of Red Bull in the
yeah,
Constructors' Championship.
I know. We can get to that too. I have that written.
Wow.
Frank Franco and Liam, their little battle. I don't know if you guys noticed this. So, or I was paying attention to it. When Franco pitted, he pitted maybe like, I don't know how many laps, but maybe like 10 laps after Liam, and he was like 11 seconds behind Liam, and he was just like gaining. I was like, damn, I know he has like however many laps newer tires, but like he was gaining quickly on him.
Mhm.
And then they had their little battle. Liam loses the front wing. Again, like, was Liam being too aggressive? I I don't know. But I also kind of feel like I need Franco to have a seat. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm just like, he needs a seat next season. I'm not sure how. I'm not
Is
sure
there
where, why,
are
what.
there any seats left?
Well, so there have been
Yeah.
rumors this week, especially that that Williams could loan Franco to V Carb. Like if they choose to put Liam into the Red Bull, that Franco could take that seat and be teammates with Yuki, which part of me is
And
like,
Lawson, yeah.
I kind of think you should put Franco in the Red Bull. Like, that's just my opinion. I know that might be a hot take. I don't
That's a
think they
hot take.
they they won't, because even Helmet said this week, he's like, we're not in the I can't remember his exact quote. He was like, we're not in the business of like loaning, because it would be a loan. Like Williams has the deal with Franco, so they'd only be able to keep him for a couple seasons anyway, Red
Mhm.
Bull. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't know. I'm just like, he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, I
She's
think
like
if
really
I
good.
had to
Sorry.
guess where he'll go, he'll end up, sorry,
No, that was just a
I
Camp
think
Rock in my head.
I missed that quote.
It's the part in the pianos where she's like really good. And like
Oh,
it's
oh,
like
oh.
the
Yeah, I
piano
know.
part.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Continue,
I'll,
go again.
yes, I know. I think he probably is the best option for one of the stake seats for next year, or
Okay,
for
but
the remaining stake seat.
see, I feel like my thought is with Franco, he has leverage.
Yeah,
And I would almost think it's better for him to not go to stake and be at the back of the grid for a couple seasons, and just, if he has to, be the reserve driver for a year, because somebody is going to need him after next year. Like they will be like, yes, please come join us. I don't know. I just feel like he's better than spending a couple years in an Audi, but who the hell knows? A seat's better than no seat at the same time. So,
Right. I guess
So
that's what they'd have to weigh is a bad seat better than no seat at all,
right.
or keeping leverage. I totally get what you're saying. I don't think Valtteri has done enough this season to warrant keeping his seat.
I agree. I agree.
mm-mm.
That's where
Which
I'm
is
at.
sad.
Are
Yeah,
both stake seats open right now?
just one.
No, because Nico Hulkenberg is going.
Oh, okay, right. I
Emma, I
just
feel like we need to like make a visual for
Yeah,
you
you
of
need like a
like
chart.
every episode I'm like, what's available, what's not, who's racing? I don't
I
know.
mean,
It's
the
every
reality is
episode.
everything's available all the time because these contracts don't matter. Like anything
right.
can
Right.
change it all the time, you know? Um,
Okay.
yeah. So
And
there's some space.
Ollie and
Yes.
Esteban are
Yes.
Haas next season.
Yes.
Okay, I saw a tweet. I hate Twitter, but I saw a tweet that said if Ferrari wins the Constructors' Championship, then Ollie Behrman is the youngest rookie to win a Constructors since whatever year. And I was like, hold up, what? And then I was like, oh, right. He raced in Carlos's place at the beginning of the season when Carlos had his little appendix thing, right?
Yeah. But that's
And
a big
so
caveat though.
I know. So I'm like, I don't really like we're reaching here. Like we are reaching here. But it took me a minute to be like, I don't understand the
It's
math.
been a crazy season.
It's been an absolutely insane
So much
season.
has happened.
And
So
I
as
think next year's gonna be even
oh,
crazier.
it's going to be insane. Like all the moves, all the new drivers. It's going to
Yeah.
be really fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Carlos wins, like very impressive victory from him. He lost the start, but then he got it back pretty quickly after the safety
Mhm.
car restart, held it for the whole way. So happy for Carlos to get that. I don't know if it's going to be his final win at Ferrari. Obviously, there's a few races to go, so he could win again, but it's nice for him to get a victory as he's
Mhm.
heading out the door.
I know. I think he said yesterday it was bittersweet, like
Yeah,
knowing how close Ferrari is now. And like knowing also he's not going to be here next year when they're like right on the cusp. I think it's shitty, but he's like going out with his head held high. Like, and I think it just shows like how great of a driver is and like his like he's got he should be proud of himself and like
for
other
sure.
teams looking at him like they should know what he's doing. Like he's good. Like he's doing great things. I love him. Surprisingly.
You love Carlos.
Surprisingly, like
And
right now,
Emma,
yes.
wow.
I'm not the biggest Carlos fan.
See, and I'm not either, but I think like seeing what he's been doing this year,
He's
I
good.
respect that.
I still, I
Kind of hates
still,
me right now.
I just don't
You're
understand.
making me laugh.
I I don't understand. I mean, I do know why Red Bull didn't want Carlos. I know there's like the lore and the Verstappen Science family duel and whatever. I get it, but I still am just like that was kind of obvious. Like Carlos deserves a good seat and Red Bull needs
Mhm.
a strong driver.
I
Like,
wish, I
hello.
wish they would have signed
But
Carlos for the
that's
Red
the
Bull.
Red Bull dilemma. That's what we've seen like this whole season is they just like what they need is so what they really wanted, honestly, they wanted Daniel to be good enough to like because he would have been the perfect person, like PR wise, money wise, like he's like a good person to work with. He would have like helped
Mhm.
Max,
Yeah.
whatever. But like that obviously didn't work out. But they're just what they're looking for is like so narrow and so difficult to find that they're kind of always going to be in this dilemma because they don't they can't have rookies as we've seen like with Pierre and Alex that like doesn't work well for them. The veteran old like older guy like that hasn't worked so well for them either. I just don't know what's going to work for them basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Sucks.
would have
And
liked to.
we'll
I would have
obviously
liked to see
never
Carlos.
know. I do think that there probably would have been more Red Bull drama had Carlos
Oh,
joined, but I think that I
100%.
would have like it would have been the best move for Red Bull and for Carlos. I wish it
Yeah.
would have happened.
Yeah. And Red Bull is like they're just trying to keep Max happy. Like their whole goal is we just need to keep Max around. So I
Yeah, they're trying to
understand.
keep Max happy and keep Max around, but Max is like, I don't want to be here forever. Like he
Right.
literally,
Right.
how many times does he say like, I'm good? Like
Yeah.
he's not fighting to
Yeah.
break records. He's
I
probably,
know.
I think he's gonna retire by like 2027. Like genuinely, like he's not trying to be in here. Like he's not trying to be a lifer in
No.
Formula One. Like
No.
so it's
No,
I
like,
he wants
yeah,
completely
keep
agree.
Max
the
happy in the
irate thing.
meantime, but like get someone beside him who will be here for like a hot minute. I feel like Carlos is definitely going to be around for as long as he can be.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Max
I
is
agree.
just here.
Um, as you mentioned, Ferrari has now passed Red Bull in the constructors. So the point standings as of right now, McLaren is at 566, Ferrari at 537. So they are creeping even closer to
Hmm.
McLaren. Like they could catch McLaren, which is
Hmm.
crazy to think about. And Red Bull is now down to 512 points. So I feel like Red Bull could say hasta la vista to a top two finish. It is crazy. It's crazy that they will most likely win the drivers' championship with Max and finish the constructors in third. That's
I know. Well, and that just goes to
crazy.
show how little Checo has done this year. Like they do not have a good lineup. Like I
That's
don't know.
where I
And
don't
also,
think you can justify it.
Right. It's like
No.
indefensible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you are like in the span of a few weeks, Red Bull's gone from one to third. Like, I don't, I don't know. And also, I kind of forgot that Ferrari was in the running for constructors until this weekend, and I was
Yeah.
like, hold up, like they are catching up. And if like what they brought upgrades, like their major upgrade package was like brought in Spain, and then they've just been working off of that, and like it's done them well. But I don't, I don't know. Red Bull
Yeah.
might still have something in their back pocket, but who knows?
Who knows? Okay, let's get to some of these questions that people have left. A lot of people have been asking about the Liam flipping off Checo, which there is video evidence of it happening. And okay, actually, this is interesting. Somebody said if Red Bull or if Red Bull feel Yuki is too fiery for the main seat, surely they would think the same thing about Liam. That's an
Hmm.
interesting point that I didn't really think about. That's a good point.
Like you can just as easily call Liam
That's
hot-headed after like
that's
these
Yeah.
last few weeks. It's
right.
like it,
Right. Well, and like Max is hot-headed, right? And obviously, this is the thing. You can just or you can excuse certain behavior if someone's extremely fast. You could be like, "Well, I can put up with this because he's Max Verstappen."
Mhm.
I feel like they probably think, "Oh, it's not worth it." Like Yuki's not worth it, which I disagree with, obviously. But that's a great point. I didn't really think about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
That's very interesting.
I've always thought that that narrative about Yuki has been a cop out.
Yeah, I agree. I totally
Yeah,
agree.
100%.
Yeah, I could do a whole episode about the disrespect of Yuki Tsunoda in
Well,
Formula One.
it's
Yeah.
also like, how do I word this? So it's also like based off like how Yuki acts and like I mean, sure, if he is hot-headed, like that's just kind of how like the racing community he grew up in.
Yeah,
And it's very similar to like Gunther. And I know we haven't talked about him in a hot minute, but like Gunther grew up and like or like his racing career was like it was like rallying. And so people like got angry. They were swearing all the time. And like Gunther
right,
picked up on that and that just kind of became who he is. And like the same can be said about Yuki, like when he was learning English and like when he did start moving up in racing, like he was put in these scenarios where the people around him were angry and hot-headed. Like he's just
right,
I
going to
mean,
pick up on that.
forget Gunther. That's Max Verstappen.
Hmm.
right.
That's Max's upgrade.
It's just human nature.
Yeah,
And so to only like pick on Yuki for that is just absolutely unfair.
totally agree.
Anyway,
Someone else asked, "What did you or how did you feel about Checo's attempt at the fastest lap?" I was
did he attempt? I thought they just canceled it.
He attempted. He was 9/10 off of because so originally it was Lando had it, and then Charles pitted for the fastest lap at the very end. He got
Liam
it.
had it. Liam had it for a minute.
Liam had it. Franco had it for a minute. Then Lando had it like towards the end. Charles pits. He gets it, and then Checo attempted, but he didn't get it. And part of me wonders if they reacted they didn't know that Charles was going for it, and so they like were like, well, let's try to get it off of Lando because I'm like, Checo had a damaged car. Why did you think he was going to be able to get the fastest lap? I mean, there was no way he was going to be faster than Charles Leclerc on soft
On
tires.
soft. Exactly. It
Yeah,
didn't matter who was going to take it as long as it wasn't McLaren. So
right.
Mhm.
they should
Yeah,
have. I agree. I agree.
it
I
was
honestly,
bizarre.
I thought they bailed out of that. I heard it and then I didn't see anything else about it, and I was like, good idea. They canceled that. Guess not.
Yeah. Um, okay, well, a lot of people have also asked, do we think Checo will lose his seat at the end of the season?
Yeah.
I just think there's no way I think even if Liam does a bunch of more like if his performances for the rest of the season are kind of like the one he did this weekend, like fine, but not amazing, I still think you replace Checo because at least you try something new, right? Like what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing twice and expecting the same result. Like
Hmm.
I just can't
That's a good
imagine
point.
them going through one more season of this with Checo. I just even if
I
Liam is
can't.
not up for it or whoever they decide to put in that car, at least try something new?
And if not, he will have the shortest leash going into the first 5 races of next year. The
Yeah.
shortest leash.
Yeah, but that's like, oh God. Which is
I
funny because
know.
he always does well at the beginning of the season. He always does well like the first 5 or 6 races. And then once they get to Europe,
Yeah,
like
you're right.
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
over.
No, you're right.
Um, okay, let's see what else. Do you think Max deserved the penalties? I think we agree. Yes, but
Little harsh, but
little
yes.
harsh.
10
And I
seconds.
understand why he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Kevin's going to do after this, after he leaves F1? He's been doing really well the last couple of seasons or last couple of
Okay.
races.
I heard on the radio someone say it was K-Meg's last race or like one of the, then I was like, no, right? That I must have
It's
just heard
his
wrong.
it's his last season. I mean, he's
Last
not getting
season.
Yeah.
signed anywhere.
Yeah.
I think he is going to be the best dad and he
That's
is
what
just
I was
going to,
gonna say. I was like, I think he'll be a really great dad
yeah.
and maybe a really fantastic WEC driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see him going to WEC. Mhm.
Um, do you think there's still going to be a friendship between Max and Lando?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just rocky right now, and that's
It's just
okay.
it's
Because,
just Rocky.
but they can separate their career and their personal
Yeah.
lives.
The worst thing for them would be to become teammates. They should never become teammates
I
because
agree.
that's how their friendship would end, a la Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
if they at least just stay rivals, I think, or on different teams, I think it's going to be fine.
Something
Um,
I have forgotten about is Lando using Simply Lovely. I haven't
yeah,
forgotten about that. I
yeah,
think if anything, like that was a start of like yeah, this is disrespect now. So, we'll see. I think yeah, like these guys are professionals. Like they'll still be buddies. But
they're fine.
that was
Well, anything else you guys wanted to touch on about the race or anything oh, do we miss any? I did want to mention, just for Emma's sake, Lance Stroll, strong performance, did a great
Mhm.
job. I was paying attention to him because I was mostly paying attention to the Franco Liam Lawson battle, just because I was curious how that was going to go down, and Lance was ahead of Liam, so I was paying attention to that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so props to you and Canada and
Happy
Lance.
birthday, Lance.
Happy birthday, Lance. How old is he?
I think he's my age.
Which is
Like, I
what?
think he's turning 26
Okay.
this year. I think we're like born a day apart. Hang on. Lance Stroll, birthday.
Soulmates.
October 29th, 1998. He is literally a day older than me.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Lance. I love you so much.
Um, anything else you wanted to touch on? Any other notable
no,
bits
I'd love to know how you think this season's gonna end.
in
Yeah.
terms of like the title fight
Drivers.
and stuff?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Max is winning it. I think it's just Lando hasn't done enough. There are 4 races to go. Ferrari look quite strong. I feel like everyone's taking points off of each other. No one's been consistently the second best driver for the last handful of weeks. Sometimes it's Lando, sometimes it's Charles, it's Carlos, it's Oscar, it's whoever. So
I
I
love
think
how you say Charles.
Charles.
I love how
I
you
say
say it. Like,
I say the French way.
I love it.
Thanks. Um,
It's so fun.
so I think Max
Sorry.
will win. No, it's okay. Um, and then I think, oh, the constructors, that's interesting. I think McLaren will win the constructors, but I think it might come down to the final race.
I think it'll come down to the final race too. And how beautiful would that be?
I mean, I guess it would
That
come
would be
down
every fan's dream.
as long as it's whatever, what would the differential be? Like 50 point? Because in theory, both McLarens could DNF and, if Ferrari, so like, I guess there could still be a good chunk of points in between Ferrari and McLaren, and it could still come down to the last race. So it would be like unlikely, I guess. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think Red Bull is definitely getting third. It would be hilarious if Mercedes was closer to be able to contend for. I think they're too far back. So yeah, how about you guys? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Max and probably McLaren. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
Emma.
Yeah, Max McLaren.
Max McLaren.
I do think it's going to come down to the last race for like constructors championship.
Yeah, so
For the
that will.
close fight.
Yeah, that's going to make my Hannah very happy because obviously her number one driver is Max, and then her second and third favorite drivers are Lando and Oscar. So Hannah gets everything she wants in this world. I get nothing. So that's good for me.
How are you
Lance is my
coping?
favorite driver. How do you think I feel all season?
Is
No,
your
Lance will
favorite?
have to
Is
speak
your
for the rest
driver
of her life. His
exactly?
life.
Is your driver still in Formula One? Yes, yes. Mine is not.
Thank you for having
How
us
are
on
you
the show
coping?
again.
Zoe, how are you coping? How are you doing?
Oh, it's been up and down. It's been up
Is it?
and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He posted
I
like
know.
that JPEG picture
I know.
today.
I know.
Yeah.
I will say like there's a lot less I don't feel as much anxiety, stress going into race weekends. Like it's a lot more relaxing, but it just
So do
sucks.
you have to pick a new favorite driver then,
Oh, I
hey?
do. Oh, Charles is my favorite driver.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
But I just hate how it ended. Like it was just a very terrible way for it to end, and I'll never probably get over that. So,
Yeah,
but
understandable.
everything is awesome. So, okay, well, you guys are the best, and thank you for coming on. I hope we can
Thank
reunite
you.
at some point soon at a race somewhere. Are you guys going to Formula One races next season? Do you have plans? You don't have to tell, like, if you're, we can talk about this
We
offline, but
no,
No,
like
we're all
we haven't
good.
talked about it.
okay.
I'm in grad school now. I actually live in the States now.
Where do
So
you, oh, we don't have to,
no,
don't
that's
tell me
okay.
where you live.
I live in Minnesota.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so still close-ish to home, but because I'm in grad school now and I have clinical stuff going on, I probably will not be able to afford or
Yeah.
attend
Yeah.
um any Formula One races next year. I'm hoping that there'll still be a couple IndyCar opportunities for me, but
Hmm.
yeah, Formula One's probably out of the cards for at least the next year and a half.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, Emma, if you want to go,
Okay,
if you
we'll
have,
plan something.
yeah, please. It's been too long. It's been
I
way too
know.
long.
I know.
Well, you guys are the best. Let everyone know where they can find you, listen to you, just all the things.
Um, Track Talk pod on Instagram, Track Talk Pod on TikTok. You can find us on any platform where you listen to your podcasts. And we do have a YouTube, which we are really trying to get back on, which is just Track Talk Podcast. Our last episode was posted on YouTube,
It was.
which is
Everyone should go
nice.
listen and watch all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you
thank you for having
guys,
us on.
oh my God, anytime. I hope people know that like we love you guys so much and we need to have all four of us on together ASAP
Hmm.
for some fun stuff. We need to do one where we just have fun, we laugh. Um
We could do a game show.
that would be so fun. That would be so fun. Okay, you guys know how we end our show. So I would
Oh,
suggest
Shantae.
like one go first and then the other because the timing is going to be off. So whoever wants to go first and then the other can follow. I'll let you guys decide.
Like with the Enchante.
With the Enchante, yes.
Oh gosh. I don't want to go first.
Okay,
Okay,
Hannah,
I'll go. Oh, I'll go first. Yeah.
go for it.
Like, sorry. I thought I was waiting for you, Zoe.
No,
Okay.
go for it.
Enchante.
I'm scared. I don't know. I don't want to get it wrong.
It's one word.
You know, Enchante.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Goodbye.